It is amazing how even now, all of us in some way have experienced trauma. Because you experienced trauma firsthand and still made it to this point. You experienced it firsthand. No one comes through this life traumaless. No one comes through this life unscathed. No one comes through this life without a little bruising. And no matter what you accomplish today, remember this, that you all are black men in the United States of America. And you better remember what that means. That means you live with the legacy of trauma, where your bodies have not been appreciated, where your skin has not been honored. You live daily with trauma. Black men in America live and deal with trauma, and its tentacles hover over your possibilities. During your matriculation, you learned that. During your time in school, we saw this country in racial turmoil. Why? Because we discovered, to some people's surprise, that southern trees still bear strange fruit. That black bodies still swing from trees. That black mothers' sons are still being murdered. That black women still are the oppressed of the oppressed. That black mothers die more in childbirth than anybody else. You know what trauma looks like. That poverty in our communities is rampant and pervasive. That children go to sleep at gunfire for a choir. You know what trauma looks like. You felt it in your life. And young black boys today have some of the highest rates of suicide that exist. And if that were not enough for this class to know, you had to endure, at the dawning of your matriculation, a global pandemic. Trauma. Uncertainty was abounding. Communities were being thrown into chaos. You had to go home and figure out how you would graduate, how you would finish school. You had to become virtual students when you had on-campus dreams. You had to figure out how to make it through the trauma that we were all facing. And if that were not enough, you had to grow up in a tragically shallow time. Shallowness is the marker of this age, marked by oversharing and self-consumption. Social media has become the sanctuary for the superficial. Disingenuous flamboyance is applauded while the beauty of living in one's truth is scoffed at. Hollow relationships are normalized, and we are constantly distracted by dangerous, dysfunctional, and overinflated sense of self-importance. Selfishness and greed gnaw at the margins of our culture. Reckless egos are intoxicated by the aroma of their own opulence. Fraudulent personalities seek to cripple and undermine the meaning of authenticity, while rabid insecurities masked by false bravado and pretentiousness rule the day. Self-obsessed, self-engrossed, self-centered persons are celebrated, while irresponsible consumption and materialism are lauded and applauded as the paradigm. And there is no limit to what some people will do for attention. The trauma of living superficial lives mark this generation, consumed with trying to think that you need to be more when you truly are more than enough. Thinking somehow you need to be some people's highlights when their full story is a mess. Believing in your heart that sometimes snapshots is what you ought to emulate. Feeling depressed because you think you're not living your best life because you're looking at other people's Insta life. No. In the midst of all that, black men must suffer in silence. Black men must live with wounds seen and unseen. Black men must live with tears too numerous to count. Black men must live with rife of self-doubt and riddled with insecurities. Black men must overcome the feeling of being overwhelmed by a country and people who don't appreciate who you are. We have been bruised, broken, and bloody, but we're still here. And you represent a fact that no matter what hell throws your way, you still come out standing. You still come out swinging. That no matter what you've seen with your trauma, you're still stronger than you could ever imagine, wiser than you could ever know. In spite of all you've been through, you still here, still standing, still here, and still standing. Traumatized men on a traumatized campus with traumatized faculty and traumatized leaders in a traumatizing time, but you made it to this day. You made it because you stand in the legacy and lineage of resilience. People who look like you came through the dark waters of hell and still made it. You are not made of little stuff. Running through your blood is the blood of those who died and bled so that you can be here right now. You are powerful, unshakable, and adaptable. You made it. And in case you don't know, look to your brother on your left and right and you tell him, brother, you made it. You made it. In spite of all the hell, you made it. In spite of your pain, you made it. But here, look at your family and call your family, I did it. I made it. I did it. I made it. You made it, brothers. You survived it, brothers. You came through, brothers. You did what some folk thought you couldn't do. Everybody in here ain't the valedictorian. Everybody in here ain't a salutatorian. But you came out in Jesus' name. You still made a way. God still opens doors. And I know it's Saturday afternoon, but it feels like Sunday morning right now. Because there's somebody in here who can testify that if it had not been for the Lord on your side, and you don't know where you would be, is there anybody here who can give God some praise for the great things God has done? And in case you don't know, you ought to rise, shine, and give God the glory. Rise, shine, give God the glory. And is there anybody here who can testify that he's still keeping me? And every time I turn around, he keeps on making a way.